right. Well, to begin, thank you for taking time to speak with me today about instant teams and everything that's gone on in your lives in these last few years. But to begin, a lot has happened in the 5 years since you formed the company. Start by telling me a little bit about both your individual backgrounds and how you came to start Instant Teams.
Sure. Well,
Liza?
I can go first, kick it
Sure.
off. So I'm Liza Rodewald, CEO, co-founder here, and I have a background in software engineering, actually, and ran my own software company prior to starting Instant Teams, and ran my own software company prior to becoming a military spouse. So all of the software I wrote was mainly for all the state governments, and so my teams were fully remote. Everything I did was 100% work from home during having that company. And then I became a military spouse myself and moved into our first neighborhood. And every spouse would ask me the same questions. How are you working from home? How have you maintained your career? Can you help me out? And so just seeing that over and over, and then seeing from my experience running a company completely remotely and the need for companies to be have great talent that they could scale up easily was kind of my genesis behind what we've started at Instant Teams. And I met Erica along the way when I was running my software company, and her and I, started to get together after that and, start to iterate on what we've built so far.
And Erica, how about you? How did you get where you're at?
I think my journey is more of the typical military spouse. Right out of college, became a military spouse, moved to very small town, rural Alabama. The job opportunities for me provided there were 2 on postcards on a bulletin board in the military employment office. And one I said no thank you to, the other one I interviewed for because there were one of 2 there, and interviewed right outside the Anthony's Pizza and the PX food court, and was told on the spot that I was overqualified, and as a flight student spouse, they knew I would be leaving in about 8 to 9 months, and so they weren't interested. So that was my assurance into military spouse life as a aspiring career professional. Had just graduated, thought I was just going to get out there and, pave my own path, and found very quickly that that was not going to be the case.
And what job were you applying for that you got rejected?
You're gonna laugh. So the two on the poster board were local house cleaning in hotels, or court appointed driver of children to court appointments. So basically, if children had to be in a court situation, I would have been the driver to transport them. I have 2 degrees in human ecology, so I thought, hey, it's kids, I can do it, but I was told overqualified, and the kids needed consistency in their life, so I wouldn't be the best driver for them.
I see. Okay.
So then we moved straight to Germany after that, and I ended up applying 7 times to get into the CYS NAF MWR system. And so I started working in the child development centers, but I started as a flex employee, even though I had a bachelor's degree and was qualified at like a NAF 2 level. But I just got in at the ground level and just very quickly then became a full-time class provider, and then the training and curriculum specialist, and then an assistant director. And then by the time we moved, I had become a full facility director within about 3 years. So did that off and on for the first 10 years of my life as a military spouse. And then we hit 2 moves in 3 years, baby number 2, could not find a job. And I said, okay, I'm 30 and I guess I'm done. I'll never have a career. I will always be just the spouse, and kind of had that woe is me moment. But at that time we were out in California, so right at the bed of Silicon Valley. And I was introduced to a veteran-owned startup who said, hey, you seem to know the community, you seem to know your way around what the community needs. Would you be interested in taking on this kind of brand user acquisition growth position, which I had no idea what that meant at the time. I Googled it and I said, sure, I'll try it. And so really loved that. And so I built local brand ambassador communities for that startup, and was able to stay with that company for 5 years during the rest of my moves. And so that was kind of my first assurance into that you could have a remote job and stay with the same company and progress and see all of that fulfillment. And so I did that same thing for 2 or 3 other companies that were a part of the same firm that this company was a part of. And I was building teams out of spouses I knew from across, the globe, who I knew wanted the same type of work. And after I did it a couple times, I had met Liza in that intersection. And when I realized that she was, a developer, it had the engineering background and the software background, I had seen kind of the same need in her space, was kind of where that pitch aha moment came in. I was like, I'm just going to ask her what she thinks about this idea. And really it was taking that as an enterprise level or a business solution. The people we knew needed work, providing those types of teams to the people that needed it. And the rest is history from there.
Well, yeah. And talk a little bit about how the company has grown since its founding in 2016. How many spouses have you placed up to this point, and what's the trajectory been like?
So we started with just Liza and I, just the two of us. Then we hired our very first other team member about a year in. And from there, we went to like 45 team members, and then about 72, and then I think 237. And right now we're right over 600 W-2 remote team members spread across the globe.
And what has made, what have you been able to do that other either programs or companies have been unable to do to fulfill this? It seems like you've succeeded where others have not.
We've always built the model to solve a business problem in the business world first, and then give those jobs to the military spouse community instead of going at it from a social kind of position. And so the technology and things we've built helps companies hire really quickly, very curated processes of pipelines of talent versus going to post a job and getting a bunch of applicants. So we've really innovated in the business space and then piped in the talent community of the military spouse into that technology piece, which gives companies advantage. Number one, tapping into an untapped talent community, but also getting a way to hire really quickly and to build those teams in a cost-effective manner that really solves a true business case, which enables that to really scale and grow and have such an impact on the military spouse community, instead of going at just the social aspect of hiring a spouse because we all want to give back, because the companies do, but they have to have a business case for why to do it. And that's what we've created.
Excellent. And what are some of those companies you're partnering with? Who are we talking about?
So we work with large enterprise and small to medium enterprise companies, a lot of technology, ed tech, healthcare, traditional big companies like Amazon, Walmart, Prudential, and small to medium enterprise companies that are a lot of fun to work with as well, like Expensify, Gainwell, and a few others along that line.
And what is the process like for a spouse who wants to join, who hopes to get hired by one of the companies working with you? What do they have to do, and what type of skills should they be bringing to the table to make them strong candidates for the jobs that you have?
Yeah, that's another thing I think we've done uniquely that serves the spouse journey or any untapped talent community, in that we have what you would generally say is like a profile or an account registration process, but we call it my story. And the reason we do that is, one, we're skill-based hiring. So the skill sets that spouses bring to their story, the gaps in employment, that chronological timeline that a lot of us don't have, that is super chronological.
Mhm.
What we've done is we've created the My Story to allow you just to bring the narrative of who you are and what you've done without the stigma of the things that you would think traditional employers would be looking at. And as you create that profile, it's really creating a story and a narrative of the skill sets that you bring to be matched to the work that we provide. And there's a lot of power in that. It kind of just immediately almost gives you a restful moment of, okay, I know what I can bring to the table. If I don't know what I can bring to the table, let me go through this process and create this. Something else we do is we have a readiness team. And so our readiness team is trained and provides like 20-minute one-on-ones to help somebody create that My Story. So let's say you've had 10 different jobs in 20 years and you don't really know how to compact all of that in a way that will make your story really strong so that we can find you the type of work you're looking for. Our readiness team will kind of walk you through that. there's different skill sets. The leading one, we actually provide a free remote ready boot camp that pretty soon everybody will have to go through, is remote readiness skills. I think everybody wants remote work, and we've found from being experts in it for the past almost 6 years now that some people don't know what that means as far as the agility in navigating technology, how to set up your own home environment, how to communicate that to those in your household, like all of those things that you're like,
Yeah.
I want to work remotely. And then all of a sudden you're working remotely and you're like, oh, maybe this isn't quite what I thought it was. So remote readiness is a really big one. And we've created something to help people kind of grasp and understand what that actually means. But the types of teams we build are customer support, sales support, operational support, and tech support teams. And in that, it's really neat because we have like an ed tech customer. So a lot of teachers or educators who have very great presentation skills and patience working with families and children bring that skill set. And then we just teach them the technology, you know, remotely that they're utilizing to help those people. And so there's a lot of cool ways to translate those soft skills and those backgrounds into the remote space throughout those different type of kind of buckets of the teams that we build.
Well, excellent. And often, obviously, military families can be in tight quarters. They're not typically in a 3,000 square foot house. Is that a little hurdle that people have to overcome to find that space where they can work remotely, particularly, if they, are parts of families? And
Liza and I both worked in very odd places, so maybe we can share with you how the places we've worked as military spouses, and then kind of how we assist. Liza, I'll let you go first.
Yeah, well, I've worked in a cobwebby basement, my living room sectioned off, a bedroom, a closet. I now have this nice office space, which is the first time I've ever had my own office that actually has a door. And I've only had this for like the last 6 months. So I think really, and Erica can share hers too, but the key is just finding a dedicated space and trying to keep it that dedicated space. Even if it's a corner in your living room. When we lived in Fort Lee, it was a corner in the living room that I just kind of sectioned off, and nothing else went there but me and my laptop and my chair. And then that's where I worked. And I tried not to bring it all around the house. Some people like to move and do it, but I kind of like to have a contained space so that I can be like, when I leave that space, now I'm done working and it doesn't bleed into my entire environment. Right. But I think having whatever space it is, you can carve out a little section in your house to just have as your dedicated working space.
No, well, good.
I have also worked from closets, like full setup office in a closet. Mm-hmm. I've held meetings from a toilet so that during a deployment, there were 2 locked doors between me and the children, and the bathroom was the only way that I could have that promise of no interruptions. Some housing we've lived in had like a little hallway nook. I've worked out of that hallway nook. Corner of a bedroom facing the corner so that you couldn't see what was in front. So like, we know, right? We know people are working in really sometimes strange environments. And while we know that and respect that, we also want people to know there's ways to work around it, and that you do need to work around it so that when you are working, you don't have, like visible chaos behind you, even though it might be in front of you out of camera. So
well, and now how has the COVID-19 pandemic really altered the work from home employment landscape? It seems like it would be a boon for a company like yours.
Definitely. Like pre-COVID, our number one objection for sales would be, well, we might want them to work in our office or at least in the same state so they could come every once in a while. And then, of course, after the pandemic, everyone had to adapt so quickly to remote work, and everyone has seen the productivity even increase in those companies. And so now that objection is not even there. Everyone's pretty much on board for that. And I think it's great for the military spouse community, right, who needs those kind of remote work options to be able to continue their careers and not have to start over. So that's been probably one of the nice lights at the end of the tunnel of the pandemic, although we wouldn't wish that on anything. It's definitely been an accelerator in our growth at Instant Teams.
Yeah, and talk a little bit about that growth and the funding you've gotten recently and where you all might be headed. Seems like a lot of potentially big things on the horizon.
Yeah, so we just closed our Series A financing. It was led by Tiger Global Investments. We raised $13 million to get the company to $100 million in the next 3 years. So that's our big goal, our big growth goal there. And we have, doubled, tripled our income in the business every single year that we've moved so far. We were just on the Regional Inc. 5,000 list for our growth patterns that we've had so far. So we're definitely a fast growing company, and excited that, the bigger we grow as a company and the more we can use those dollars to invest back in our growth and in the community, the more military spouses get jobs at the end of the day. So very excited about that.
Yeah, and what has it been like to combine the military lifestyle with founding, running, and growing a startup? I mean, you seem to be poster children for, it's possible.
Yeah, I honestly think it's possible because we've been able to do it remotely. There were things, that we were told as founders, you'll never be able to raise capital as founders who can't, travel or can't go on a 4 or 5 month long road trip to just pitch, right? You're just traveling and pitching. And we were told we couldn't do that remotely. And now we've done it remotely 3 different times. All 3 rounds have been done remotely. I think being as military spouses, women, carrying the load of also the home, there's 6 kids between the 2 of us. We've never lived in the same place as founders ever. And for 3 years, we worked 6 time zones apart. And I think we just knew how to do that because that is the quality of life as a military spouse, right? You keep long distance relationships. My new term is maniacal prioritization. Like just optimizing the time that you have and knowing how all of those things like fit into the slots and the different things in life that we're all required to do. So, I mean, it's a lot, but it's a lot that has worked, I think, by nature of being able to do it remotely. I always say, like, if I had to drive anywhere and go to a downtown office and do what I do from home, I either wouldn't have a business or I wouldn't have a family. Neither of those is a good situation. So that remote work opportunity, I think, really has been the magic. And that's why we are energized about providing that for more and more spouses.
Yeah, well, obviously you can look at yourselves and use yourselves as examples when pitching either other spouses to come join you or looking for financing, because you are proof is in the pudding, so to speak, of what a spouse can be capable of doing remotely.
I'm afraid Liza might have just lost electricity or something. Her picture went dark and she's frozen.
Oh, it didn't. Yeah, she's frozen on my end, but she did not go dark.
Oh, funny.
Huh.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's dark on my screen.
Okay. Well, maybe we'll be next. We'll see.
Liza, are you there? Maybe not.
Huh. Okay. We'll have to see if she can pop back on. Oh, yeah. Maybe she's gonna try to come back in.
Yeah, she will.
Yeah. But and the headquarters moved to North Carolina. Tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, so we have never had a location-based building. We have always been 100% remote. What the pandemic has taught us is while people want to be 100% remote, they also want an opportunity to engage in person. And as we grow our leadership teams, we have really great systems and processes for being strategic and being creative remotely. But that opportunity to come together has just been something from like employee engagement surveys. People are asking for it. And so in my chief people officer role, and as Liza is the CEO, like we're really in tune to what people need to be successful. And we've just been getting a lot of like, hey, a little bit more in person would be great. And I think that's just nature of what we've all been through in the past 2 years with COVID.
Yeah.
We were talking about that earlier. So Liza's in North Carolina. We have a very large base of team members in North Carolina. And so we decided, hey, let's get an office space, that we can host events in, that our teams can travel to. So if the whole tech team wants to get together, they can travel to this location to kind of have like a home base, but not ever required.
Okay, makes sense. And what's the biggest lessons you've learned as an entrepreneur over these past almost 6 years? What, I guess, what have been the challenges and what have been the lessons?
This could be a whole interview in and of itself. For me, it's been a lot of personal growth and development, which I think in any career profession, like as you progress, the awareness of who you are and how you function and what triggers you and how you relate to other people is really, really important, like that emotional intelligence. I think by way of my human ecology degrees and now in chief people officer, like I love that part of it, is watching people grow and helping people figure that out. I think the very biggest thing for me has been, everybody says balance. Well, how do you find balance as an entrepreneur and a military spouse and a mother and all of these things? And Liza and I have always said it's harmony, not balance. I think balance is one of those, you'll never get it even, right? There's no way, especially adding in the military lifestyle, like there is no balance. Like we all know that. It's not going to happen. But approaching it from a harmony mindset, meaning all of those things can work together if you know how to communicate to the right players, if you know how to prioritize it and organize it. And then I just heard it said last week, and I'm like, I'm going to add that to kind of my growing philosophy on this is, sorry, I just lost what it was. Oh, managing your energy instead of your time. Everybody has the same amount of time in a day, but how do you manage what you have the capability of doing from day to day? So welcome back.
There's a storm happening at my house right now, so.
Yep.
Okay. Well, I was just asking the question of what have been the biggest lessons learned over these last 5 years and, kind of some of the challenges you've had to overcome.
Told her that could be
Oh,
a
is it
whole.
my turn to answer that then?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh. Can you guys hear me okay? Is my
Yes.
connection okay?
Yeah,
Yep.
you're kind of freezing in and out, but the connection's still good for the moment.
Okay. I think some of the biggest challenges that I face too is just like personal growth and creating a business and scaling it to this point. We raised money and that wasn't something that I had ever done before in my background. And so learning venture capital, learning how to navigate, learning how to, talk to investors, pitch to investors, manage relationships with investors, all of that was brand new to me. And so one of the things we did was go through the Founder Institute program. And I did that in DC when I was in Fort Lee. And it was really helpful to kind of give us a baseline of understanding. And you don't truly understand it till you actually go through it, I think, and see all the math and everything play out to where it makes a lot more sense. But at least giving us a foundation in that. So a lot of those lessons learned about how and when to raise money, and what to do with it, how to deploy it afterwards is a big lesson as well. I think we didn't spend our first money as wise as we could have when we first raised, and we learned that lesson hard and then went into the next round understanding, okay, what we should spend the money on and how we should invest in the growth of the company, and learning those lessons along the way.
And has your vision for Instant Teams changed over the years?
It actually hasn't. So I went back and looked at all of our old decks, and they are all so consistent with what we're building now. Like our technology is more advanced, than it was then. And our messaging and everything is a little tighter, but all of that has been the since we started until now. So that's pretty exciting to see. I even went back in one of my decks that I pitched in like 2018, and our projections that I put together are spot on. They're the ones we hit, which was pretty exciting to see too. Like that has been consistent.
Yeah.
What advice do you have for the military spouses who still continue to be either unemployed or underemployed? What would you like to say to them?
I think the first thing we usually say is like, help us help you. Like you have to know what you bring to the table. And that's the starting point, especially at Instant Teams. Like we mentioned, like we are really focused on our business solution. We are the employer. And so when you come to us, like knowing what you are ready to do, knowing what your skill sets are, knowing what you're looking for, is really important because that helps us move you through the process and helps us get people to where they need to go. So utilizing all of those other support systems in our military spouse ecosystem is really important. There's great, career workshops, career development opportunities. There's a lot of reskilling. We have some reskilling opportunities. So like taking advantage of all of that and really wrapping it up into, you're looking for remote work. What can you do? What are you interested in doing? And being ready to come in and do that.
Well, excellent. And anything else you want to say just in terms of where this company is going and what your goals are for the future? Anyone want to?
Yeah, Liza, go ahead.
Okay. Well, obviously, we have big goals for the company. Our ultimate goal is to take the company public and grow it as large as we can. We want to become the #1 employer of military spouses. So we have big, ambitious goals there. And so we want to be able to have and capture the military spouse community and be able to really take care of them along our way as we grow the company and take it public.
And are you finding the people that you do bring in and hire, are they staying with it? Are they finding satisfaction? And is the remote world what they expected it to be?
Yeah, so we do a lot of aggressive employee feedback. We do a lot of data. We do a lot of surveys. And we do have like industry wise, a very low churn rate. And we know that is truth because one, we've built the community and we've built the company we're 91% women out of the 600, right? So we understand what it's like to be the harmonizer or balancer of life. And that community aspect really brings that in. And then we've built a lot of career support opportunities. So if you're not achieving your KPIs, we have a coaching program that you go into to support you and get you where you need to go. We know people fluctuate, so the support mechanisms that we've also built in allow people to stay and feel supported and progress. And we have fun too, which we often discount, but working remotely can feel lonely, right? We will always be the first to say that. You're sitting in an office or a bathroom or a closet. And so that community aspect, we really spend a lot of time and energy and resources in, because sometimes that's the sticky factor, right? You can show up and just do a job, but if you don't feel connected to the people, no matter where they are, your peers, your colleagues, your supervisors, that can kind of be that main mechanism of an exit. And so we really do put a lot of time into being sure that people are doing well in the job, but also feel belonging in the community.
And yeah, and so speak about that to that point a little bit. So when someone comes to you, they're being, say, placed at Amazon or wherever, but you remain their employer, or so yeah, explain that part of it.
Yeah, so right now our business model is what we would call a managed services model. There is a pure tech model releasing soon, which maybe Liza can share more about, but we are the employer. And so we've designed it that way because then we have built our entire even HR infrastructure to support the nomadic lifestyle of military spouses, meaning we know if you move from here to here and you're still a resident of here, but you got to pay taxes here, like our HR team and even the vendors that we've brought in to supply those solutions, we've configured those to support the nomadic lifestyle of the military spouse community. So we are the employer. That way the team members are doing the work, they're logging in and doing the work maybe on the customer's platform or speaking with the customers or doing the work. But they're engaging with Instant Teams day in and day out from a internal communication standpoint, from an HR standpoint. All of that is kind of owned within the Instant Teams ecosystem.
Okay. All right, excellent. And are both of your spouses still on active duty?
Yes.
Okay, so you've got a little bit longer in the PCSing world and chronic change as well.
How many times have we moved collectively, Liza, in the past 6 years? let me count real quick. That might be a fun stat. I've moved 1, 2, 3, 4. I've moved 4 times in the past 6 years.
I moved New York to Virginia, Virginia to Hawaii, Hawaii to North Carolina, so 4.
4. Yeah, so we've moved 8 times collectively in the past 6 years.
Yeah, so you know the drill. Definitely know the drill. All right. Anything else you'd like to mention that we haven't touched on? Any other pitches? Any other pitch you want to make for your company and what you do and how you do it?
I think just maybe an interesting, and if it fits into the storyline somewhere, is the challenges as military spouse entrepreneurs that we had in a business space that's not designed for military spouses, right? If you establish a business, the system is not designed to know that you're moving or to support you moving in different locations. And the 2 examples that I always like to give of that is like when Liza and I tried to go open a business bank account, we were both in separate states than where our business was registered. And then we also had separate home of records outside of those other states. So there was like this 5 to 6 like identification of states. And the bank was like, you all are not legit. Like they just couldn't understand it. And so like those types of things, right? It should be easy. You file for a business, you open a bank account, and it wasn't. I mean, there were lots of phone calls and a lot of self-explanation, like, what do I need to do to get a business bank account? And the other one is, as military spouse businesses are known for hiring other military spouses, right? That's what we're good at across the board. Doing that is also very difficult. When my favorite example of that is talking to the state of Alabama. I was physically in Virginia trying to hire a spouse that was in Florida, but their home of record was Alabama. And so the woman on the line was like, you're not in Alabama, your business is not in Alabama, and this person's not in Alabama. Why do you need to be an employer of Alabama? And so like, right, that just that narrative of, well, their home of record is Alabama, so their payroll has to go through there, like just didn't understand it. And we built that state by state by state until we got to about 27 states, and then we outsourced it. I was like, okay, I'm done with this, right? So it's those types of things too, like just those heavy lifting things that I think people may see us now and take for granted, like, oh, they just hire everywhere. But there are some really hard early days of like making all of that happen, and just encouragement to other people who are passionate about building a business that you can do it. Like where there's a will, there's a way.
Yeah, that's a good point. Well, is there anything you'd like to add that we haven't touched on?
When is this coming out?
Good question. Oh, yeah, I want to say, I can answer that. September, October.
Okay. Maybe just hitting on that, like Erica mentioned, we do have our pipeline builder that's being launched for companies to be able to hire in both ways from Instant Teams. So not only can they outsource through our managed services, but they will be able to take spouses out of the pipeline and bring them directly onto their individual payroll, which will just expand even more opportunities for both the spouse community and the employers that we currently work with, and some of the teams that they don't traditionally outsource. So that technology piece is coming out. You'll see it on Instant Teams website. And as we launch, we call it the marketplace, the Instant Teams marketplace, then companies will be able to connect in both of those ways to the spouse community.
And in terms of benefits and things like that, are you able to offer kind of traditional benefits to people you employ, or how does that work?
Yeah, so we have medical, vision, dental. A lot of spouses take vision and dental over the medical because just of nature of the lifestyle. We have some fun benefits. There's something we do called fringe benefits, where you get points and you save up and you can DoorDash, or you can pay for your Audible or pay for different things. It's just kind of like a lifestyle, fun remote team benefit. And then this coming year, we are right now working on improving the benefits plans, and then also rolling out either some type of investment or 401k that's kind of built specifically to the needs of kind of a nomadic community. So continuing to build as a corporation, but we do have the foundations and the baseline in place.
Wow, sounds great. Well, very good, ladies. Thank you so much for your time and continued success.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you, Andrew. Yeah, let us know if you need anything else. Bye.
I will. Thank you.